whole human body is governed by electricity. The plasma in our bodies, the plasma in the blood, is a conductor. It has ions, positive charges in motion, it has electric current. The neurosystem in the human body is also based on electricity and on electric pulses. Here you deal with waves, and each part of these waves has its own meaning. It is associated with the beating or with the muscle changes, like inside the heart. If you examine the human heart from this cross section, we have the right atrium, we have the left atrium, we have the right ventricle and the left ventricle. And here we have the cerebral node here, which initiates the beating of the heart. So the pulse passes through the muscle cells, and each pulse there will be one beat. The wave generated with this pulse is called the depolarization wave. Depolarization wave. Usually, if you examine one cell of the heart muscles, for example, this cell, you will see a double layer of charges from the outside positive, from the inside it is negative. This is just one cell. When the depolarization wave moves here, it acts on these layers of charges and forces the positive charges to go to the inside and neutralize the negative charges. And this process repeats with the continuous depolarization waves that are crossing the various cells. This is a sketch of the electrical activity registered on the electrocardiograph or electrodiagram, EKG as we call it, for one beat of a normal heart. So this is the first pulse here that occurs before the artery begin to contract. Then you have the second pulse, the QRS. We call it QRS pulse. This occurs in the ventricles just before they contract. And then you have the T pulse that occurs when the cells in the ventricles begin to recover. So this is for a healthy heart. You need to have this pattern, this wave pattern. When you take the EKG and examine it, you look, if you see these patterns, then you know that this heart is healthy. If you see any changes, any modifications, you will know that there is some problems going with that patient. Here are some examples of abnormal hearts. For this one, the QRS pulse, it is too wide. This is usually taken as an indication of an enlarged heart. Heart with age gets enlarged. The chambers get enlarged. The efficiency of the heart pumps gets less efficient, and therefore the volume of the chambers get bigger. It will be difficult to beat with age. In this other abnormal heart here, the time between the P pulse and the QRS pulse changes between P and the QRS here is different between P and the QRS here. So from here, this you can see that seems there is some blockage in the conduction path between the SA and AV nodes in the heart. This is a serious problem for the heart. In this third example, there is no P pulse and a regular period for the QRS pulse. This indicates irregular atrial and ventricular contractions. This is usually a problem when you have fibrillation after heart attack. So as you can see from the electricity, from the electrical activity of the heart, we can learn a lot about what's going inside our bodies. One important device that is used to treat these kind of defects is the pacemaker. You can see here a pacemaker. A pacemaker is a simple charging-discharging capacitor that beats the charging-discharging rate. Usually is designed to match that of a healthy heart. There is a lithium-ion battery inside that can last for 6 years. Usually, the pacemaker is implanted inside the patient body and is connected to the wall of the right ventricle. So this electronic pacemaker will start charging and discharging with a rhythm that is similar to the rhythm of a healthy human heart. Usually the rate is set to 60 per minute. It is slightly slower than the normal number of beats per minute, which is taken as 72 for a healthy heart, but it is sufficient to maintain life. This is another device modification to the pacemaker. It is also implanted inside the human body. It's called implanted cardioverter defibrillators, ICD. It can monitor, record, and logically process the heart signals, and then it can supply the different corrective signals to the heartbeat such that it overcomes any irregularities. It can also record the signals and send them without wireless, to receiving devices for analysis, for storing. It can also control the atria and the ventricles independently. It is capable of many functions, as we see in this slide: monitoring the heartbeats, storing the signals for the physician to examine and make decisions later. It can be programmed like a Bluetooth device. It allows for the comparison of the signals generated by the heart muscles. It can supply the needed pulses like a pacemaker to regulate the beating of the heart. If it is programmed properly, it can automatically adjust the number of pacing pulses per minute. It's a fascinating technology indeed. In this slide, we see the properties of implanted cardioverter defibrillators. The mass is just 85 grams, very small mass. The size is also very small. It's about 5 stacked silver dollars. Here you have all the technical details for this important device. We are done with this chapter. We learned all about electric current and resistance. We learned that electric current is the charge per unit time. It is measured in ampere in the SI system, and 1 ampere is 1 coulomb per second. We learned about the microscopic view for the electric current and how it is related to the drift speed inside the conductor. We learned about Ohm's law. The ratio between the voltage and the current across a conductor is the resistance. Resistance is measured in ohm. 1 ohm is equivalent to 1 volt per ampere. For conductors, resistance is related also to the resistivity. So we may measure the resistance in one of two ways, either from the geometrical shape, the length divided by the area multiplied by the resistivity of the conductor, or by applying a voltage delta V and measuring the current through the conductor I. From the ratio V over I, you get R. So both methods can be used to measure the resistance of a conductor. When temperature changes, the resistance, the resistivity, both changes, and these equations here allow us to calculate the resistivity at any temperature T once we know the resistivity at another temperature T naught. The same can be said for the resistance. The last thing that we learned about was electric power. Is energy per unit time. For electric appliances, power can be determined from the product I delta V or I squared R or delta V squared over R. One new unit that we use in electrical circuits to measure the electric consumption is the kilowatt hour. 1 kilowatt hour is equivalent to 3.6 million joules. In the next lesson, next chapter, we will learn about DC circuits, electric circuits that contains direct currents. We will learn more about this subject. That's it for this chapter. Thank you.